former diplomat said, Indian diplomat, that this is the best one could have expected after all what they have done.
Absolutely.
But let's move to South Bank now. Your action on 29th, 30th August. Would you see, when you look back, was it that action that actually gave us an equal footing in the negotiations?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was a action which was done on the 29th and 30th, which finally turned the tables on the PLA and got him back to the negotiating table. Prior to August 29th, 30th, we already had 5 co-commander level flag meetings.
Right.
We were on the back foot. He had occupied certain areas on the North Bank. He was in a dominating locations. But post 29th, 30th of August, when we occupied the Razangra-Chingla complex, the most dominating features, looking onto his Moldo garrison and across on the other side, we occupied the South Bank. We occupied even, higher heights over the Finger Four, dominating all the locations that the PLA had occupied. He was brought back to the negotiating table.
And you surprised him quite a bit.
They were, well planned, well thought out, and executed, achieving total surprise on the PLA. He never expected that, we will do this kind of action. And the credit goes to the soldier on the ground, the junior leaders, who had planned, rehearsed. While we may say that since June 15, when Galwan happened, this happened in August, but this is the time, you're aware of Ladakh, how it happens. We have to build up our forces. We have to stage them forward without escalating the situation. We had to achieve surprise. So we did our training, we did our planning, and finally, the right moment, we executed this.
And you took tanks to...
we took tanks to Razangra-Chingla, which was unthinkable, actually.
Exactly.
A couple of months ago.
Yeah, and it was never done before. I mean, that's the whole issue. So continuing to talk about South Bank, so that advantage you got, and you noticed a change of attitude in the Chinese approach.
Absolutely.
So it still took 3-4 more rounds.
Correct. He was still looking for a face saver.
Exactly.
And finally he understood that we were looking at status quo ante April 2020.
That's right.
And we're not going to budge.
Correct.
So I think he realized that. And while in the next 3 flag meetings till the 9th co-commander flag meeting, he continued to look for a face saver, and then he relented.
So the breakthrough came in the final 9th round?
9th, absolutely.
Okay. And it was the longest...
And of course, a lot of back channels have been happening. The defense minister met and spoke. The foreign minister met and spoke. And the NSAs have been speaking.
Yes.
So it was a whole of a nation approach.
Of course.
And finally, of course, in the 9th co-commander level flag meeting, we had this resolution.
Also, I think they were they surprised that we had an MEA representative in the delegation?
Yeah, so it was initially agreed that both sides will have a rep. Okay. So the Chinese side also had the rep of the Ocean and Boundary Affairs. Their rep had come, who handles this, and a MEA rep has been there, which is a huge advantage actually.
Exactly. As you mentioned, whole of government approach helped. So there is no differences that are seen or are perceived. On the South Bank, before I move on to the other one, there is this, a lot of writings that are happening by some people, some commentators, that should we have had not sort of vacated South Bank, having gained the advantage.
You're talking about
Razangra-Chingla.
Yeah, so Razangra-Chingla is a dominating feature on the Kailash Ranges. We have occupied it, but it was done with a purpose.
Right.
It was done with a purpose to push the negotiations to disengagement. And that is what happened, So it is not that, it is an advantage in perpetuity.
Correct.
Now we can't, equate the occupation of Razangra-Chingla and try to resolve the entire boundary issue with this.
You can't be greedy.
Yeah. So it was the purpose that has been done, and disengagement is happening.
Yes.
Which we are looking at in the areas where we were at a disadvantage, the North Bank, and we need to restore the status quo ante.
Correct. That was the first purpose. In any case, it's not about resolving the LAC fully.
Absolutely.
But there's in this context itself, there's the apprehension. What if they come and occupy again after this?
So the disengagement was premised on the fact that we will not occupy again, obviously.
Right.
And having done this, we have sort of indicated our intent very clearly to the PLA that we will not allow a unilateral change of the status quo on the LSC. And the message has been sort of understood well by them. And in the 9th co-commander flag meeting, there has been an agreement that these areas will not be reoccupied.
Right. And in any case, you will keep a vigil, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have now the force levels adequately available. Plans are in place. and ISR is in place.
Correct.
And I'm sure he will not
do all that. Okay, so let's move to the next.
Typically, like, quote comes to my mind, कि दूध का जला, छाछ भी फूंक के पीता है.
Yeah, that is true. And I think now we know, because your force levels have really enhanced since...
So 2010, when you came to Ladakh, when I was the brigade commander here, there were only 2 battalions, looking after the entire area.
Absolutely.
And now we have over 90,000 troops initial Ladakh.
And you have one division worth of armor, if I'm not mistaken.
Quite a lot.
So the Depsang has been an old issue for some time. What is the issue there?
You see, Depsang, one has to understand, is not related to the present imbroglio that is, because of which we launched Snow Leopard. This is a legacy issue.
Right.
And as I mentioned earlier, 2010, when I was brigade commander here, this was a flashpoint then as well.
Correct.
And the other thing we have to understand is this is the area where the areas of differing perception is the largest.
Okay.
And like I said, it predates the present situation. And so since it is the largest area, our patrols go, so they want to give us a face-off. And when their patrols come, we give them a face-off. So that is what is the situation prevailing there now. The situation is not volatile.
Right.
And it has to be resolved at some level, and I'm sure it will get resolved.
But what is the connection there of the 1959 claim line, so-called 1959 claim line?
You see, 1959 claim line, we don't recognize. This was unilaterally proposed by Chow En-lai in a letter to the then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru.
Yes.
And our stand has always been that we do not recognize the 1959, 7 November 1959 claim line. So they have been reiterating that, and they want to come to that claim line, which we have not been permitting since we don't recognize that.
And in that area, their claim line comes up to Burtse, if I'm not mistaken.
The 1959 claim line was on a very small scale map.
Right.
So it's very difficult to exactly sort of clarify that till where it comes.
In terms of tactical lessons, or of how the speed of response has really surprised not just the Chinese, but people the world over. The face-off that you effected immediately. There are lessons, or maybe there are advantages. What has changed, over these years, logistics and otherwise? Yeah,
so lots have changed. Once the intent of the PLA, we were able to discern. Initially we were surprised when sort of we broke all the agreements and came with large strength and all that. But the moment the intent was clear, the entire juggernaut of the Indian Armed Forces, got moving, got mobilized. We had the C-17s, the strategic lift, totally focused towards Eastern Ladakh. And we had the Chinooks coming in for tactical lift to, bring troops into the areas that were required. We had the BRO working day and night to ensure that both the axes are kept open, for a longer period than even during the heavy snowfall that was happening. We had a lot of local support, in Ladakh. And we were able to hire a lot of local machinery, the JCBs and, vehicles, light vehicles, etc. So the entire system, it was a whole of nation approach. And we airlifted, thousands of tons of, tanks and APCs and troops, we had...
And food and...
Everything, billeting. And that is how sort of...
No, but that's a great lesson, I think.
Absolutely a great lesson. And like I said, the renewed focus towards the northern borders, we need to...
Gives confidence.